The AIDS epidemic. Let's talk about it.
Are you ready for true tales from a real undertaker? Everything from strange situations to crazy paranormal experiences. For over 20 years, Mark Tofson was a funeral director and embalmer working everywhere from California to Japan. Get set to hear about his hauntingly crazy adventures.
Hello, I'm Mark. I'm a retired funeral director. Thanks for coming back to my channel. Last week, I kind of mentioned AIDS in the conversation, and I wanted to kind of go there because when I started in the business, AIDS was really starting to hit, and there was some real misconceptions back then about it. Uh, but first, I would like to get off the subject a little bit. Uh, Day before yesterday, I found out that we lost a great actor, really nice guy. If you saw my first episode, you probably know that I used to be a stuntman and actor. Uh, I was in several films, mostly as an extra. Uh, the one film where I did do stunt double was actually the movie Revenge of the Nerds. Uh, Donald Gibb was Ogre on the movie. Actually, I've got a T-shirt. I'm honoring him today. You can see the Adams, and on the back here, got his number and Ogre. So yeah, he played Ogre in the film. Uh, he was one of the Alpha Betas jocks. Uh, the first 2 days on the set, I actually was an extra in the scene where the nerds arrived at the college. So basically, I was just walking in the background. Uh, you could see me a couple of times, but nothing big, and it's really easy to do. You just make sure you don't look at the camera is a big thing. And they just tell you, hey, walk over there when I point to you. You do it, no problem. The third day that I worked on it was actually nighttime, and it was the Alpha Beta party. Um, I looked exactly like the stuntman who was the fire breather in the movie. He was breathing fire with the alcohol and caught the curtains on fire and burned the frat house down. He was actually a great stuntman. His name's John Cade. Uh, he's probably best known for doing all the car stunts for the Dukes of Hazzard. But anyways, John had some kind of a family emergency and had to leave Tucson to go back to LA. And since I looked like him, they had me come in and dress up like him and watch videos of him so that I could kind of mimic his actions. Well, I was really nervous about it. It's one thing being yourself and walking, it's another thing, trying to act like you're somebody else. Uh, so, I watched the videos. I was kind of nervous. This big football player looking guy comes up to me and says, "Hi, I'm Donald. Who are you?" I said, "I'm Mark." And he goes, "Oh, you look exactly like John." And I said, "Well, I think that was the thing they wanted." So he said, "Hey, come over, have a beer with us." So I went over there and I drank beer with him and with Ted McGinley and Julie Montgomery, who played Betty. She gave me a little kiss since I started the fire so they could roast marshmallows. Uh, I was really nervous, but he put me at ease, was very friendly, told me about, how he played basketball in the University of New Mexico, got a scholarship, played football for a while and got hurt. Now he was doing acting. I was happy to see that he went on to more films. You probably remember him from, well, he did all the Revenge of the Nerds films, but you also probably remember that he did the Bloodsport with John Claude Van Damme. I don't know how many of those he did, but he was a very successful actor. and just found out the other day, yesterday, that he died the day before. And he certainly will be missed. And my condolences to his family and friends. Um, Anyways, about AIDS. So yeah, AIDS was starting to hit right around the mid '80s. For some reason, people back then were thinking it was some kind of a disease that only gay people could get. I wasn't a doctor, but I knew enough that you don't diseases don't discriminate. They just you get it and that's it. So a lot of people they thought, well, I'm not gay, I'm not going to get it, and they just went ahead with their activities. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of people caught it that way. Uh, when I got into the funeral business, there was a lot of people that worked in it that were terrified of it. I mean, they would do anything they could to get out of dealing with somebody that passed away from it. I remember they used to pay me extra to go pick them up. Uh, they were in bags, so there was minimal exposure, and I was careful anyways. I had gloves and a mask and the whole bit. Uh, when I started embalming, it got to a point where they were trying to charge extra to people for embalming for if they had AIDS, but they got in trouble, for discrimination. And when you embalm somebody that had it, they used to give you the whole embalming fee because they were like, well, if you're going to risk your life, you might as well get the whole thing, which was the difference, of you made a couple extra $100 doing it, but um, I really wasn't afraid of it because I was always careful. And the funny thing was, a lot of the embalmers and funeral directors, they'd go in there and they just embalm other people, and just like nothing happened, they weren't careful. And I told them, hey, what makes you think they don't have AIDS? I mean, they could have gotten a transfusion, car accident. You don't know. They might have had it before they got in the car accident. Um, so I was careful with everybody. I was very careful, and I always was careful with needles and scalpels and such. Uh, so I was more afraid of hepatitis because hepatitis can stay on a table and live. The virus can live for several days, but like AIDS, a couple of hours maximum on a table and in a body, maybe a couple hours, but it died off pretty quickly. So I wasn't as scared of AIDS as I was hepatitis. Uh, Now, my AIDS scare happened when uh, one of my coworkers, we'll call him James, okay? So James wasn't from a funeral family. His family actually owned a limousine company and ambulance. And back in the day, the funeral home used to be the ambulance. They would uh, come pick people up from car crashes and such and take them to the hospital, and they had no formal training. Uh, so this family decided they were going to do limousines and ambulance to take some of the pressure off the funeral homes for going to pick up people in accidents and things like that. Uh, the one son got interested in the funeral business. The other one, he was running the limousine company. He was still running it when I left. Uh, Anyways, this guy James, he was 6'7", probably the clumsiest person you ever know. A little bit on the slow side, but nice guy, very nice guy. You can't say anything bad about him there. Uh, but one day they tried to keep him out of the embalming room as much as possible. But one day we were short staffed and I was in there embalming, and they sent him in there to help me embalm. Well, we had two tables and they were pretty far apart. And I was working on the one case, and he had uh, an autopsy that the person did have AIDS. Uh, so I was, paying attention to what I was doing, and all of a sudden in my shoulder, I feel this something stab me, and I went ah, and I turn around, and he was suturing up this person the chest. When they do an autopsy, they make like a Y incision, down the down your shoulders here, and then down the middle. And so he was sewing, but he was making these big, real over exaggerated movements, and he stabbed me with the needle from this person that had AIDS. Uh, right away, everybody started freaking out. They sent me to the hospital. They dumped embalming fluid on my shoulder, which burned like hell. I mean, it really stung. Alcohol, everything. They thought, oh, well, we got to kill this virus. We'll kill it now. And went to the hospital, and there's not much they can do. They give you some antibiotics and stuff, and that was it. Well, then they did an AIDS test on me. Uh, I ended up having to do an AIDS test for 2 years after that, every 6 months. And let me tell you, those were the longest 6 months and the longest 2 years I ever had. Because, yeah, it's pretty scary. And to think that, you might have gotten it from somebody being careless, that's really bad. But, yeah, so, there was a lot of discrimination against people that had it. I didn't. I was not scared. I figured if I caught it, that would be God's will. I got into the business to help people, and uh, I wasn't going to let something like that stop me. Um, Now I think people are a little bit more lenient again because it's not known as a fatal disease anymore. People still die from it, but they say it's more manageable with medicine. But I do not think it's wise being too lenient and too not careful enough because, like I said, hepatitis, you get that and it's really bad. I've known embalmers that got it and uh, they got really sick, and some of them developed cancer and things like that. But yeah, so that was my little bit on AIDS and my tribute to Donald. Uh, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you'll share it with your friends. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe. Uh, I will be back again soon with another story. And I hope you all have a great week, and I will talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.
Please like, share, and subscribe.